exhausted. Your inbox is screaming at you like a siren. Your calendar is still full. Still calling yourself visible and you're just the best kept secret? Turns out I was right there with you, my friend. Wasn't getting seen, was just the best kept secret. Wasn't getting heard, definitely, kind of getting paid. But here, the magic, my friend. It's a collaboration between Colleen Stubbs and Nicole Borghi. The VoiceLab on the school platform shows you how to use podcast spotlights, summit stages, and simplified, yeah, that's right, simple outreach systems so your visibility actually works. Get seen, get heard, join the free VoiceLab on the school platform, and you're going to get it all. Because if you're working this hard, someone else should know about it. Scan the QR code today.
Nicole, you have no volume?
We're coming. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the VoiceLab podcast. And we're coming at you large and in charge. It is Tuesday, March 24th. And here we go. We're coming at you. We're going to bring some tips and tricks, guys. And what are we doing with the VoiceLab podcast? We are here to help entrepreneurs gain visibility and turn that visibility into real business growth. This came about from our VoiceLab group on the school platform. I'll share that information with you in a minute. But, you know, if you're a business and you're just tired of chasing leads and you're not creating them, you want them to convert, right? Everybody has leads, or they don't, you know, maybe you don't have leads. We can help you do that, and that's what we're here to do. We want you to share and simplify your life, you know, and then just drive that sustainable growth and make it simplified. Whether you're just getting on the camera or you're creating your email out of workflow. I'm trying to put it all in one word today. It is Tuesday, and I don't know about you guys, but, you know, hey, to the Zoom gods, could you stop updating? Everything's floating around. I can't find stuff. It's on. I've got two different screens going on and things are floating around. I don't know about you guys, but I think Zoom is having an identity crisis. But here, what are we going to talk about today on the VoiceLab podcast? We're going to talk about, when people overcomplicate marketing. That's why this episode is called How to Get in Front of Thousands Without Ads. And you do that quite simply through stages, right? How do you do that? We're going to talk about podcast swaps, summit speaker cross promotion, list swaps, and strategic collaborations, which means that both parties have to be accountable. We're going to share with you some great tips and tricks today all about that. And welcome back. I'm Nicole Borghi. If you don't know, I'm an event to scale visibility leader, and I share with entrepreneurs how to leverage virtual events into a marketing machine. And I build authority platforms that scale influence and revenue, my friends. You know, honestly, if your business is getting attention, or is it your ring lights doing the heavy lifting? We want to make sure that you don't just come on camera for vanity points, and some people are good at that, but how do you talk to that audience? How do you come out? How do you show up and perform? And are you the authority? So the real question I like to ask people is, not should I host an event, friends, but it's what does your stage, does your message deserve? And here, my cohort in crime, Colleen Stubbs.
Hey, good morning. I'm Colleen Stubbs, the founder of Simplified CEO Systems. And if you're wondering what in the world I have to do with summits, well, let me tell you what I have to do with summits. What I do is I help you take those leads that you get from any event, from summits, from podcasts, from anything like that, even from collaborations. I help you take those leads and get them into an automated system so that you can continue to nurture them and build relationships with them. Because in business, the only way to success is by building good, strong relationships. And so I really help you to cultivate those relationships by utilizing your back end office. And I simplify, in short, go high level. I make it easy for you to comfortably build out your lead list and nurture it. Keep it active, keep it going, keep building those relationships. And you can do that by sharing audiences. We're going to talk all about that today. There are a lot of different ways to reach people that don't cost you a thing. And so let's dive into that, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely. It getting on the stage isn't enough. Showing up and swapping podcasts. So let's talk about first, let's get into a little bit of podcast swaps. We're going to make it as simple as possible from the start. Friends, there's a lot of you out there, and I think that's it's a great thing. You should be going into networking. You absolutely, want to make leave a powerful footprint there so people get to know you, they get to connect with you. You want to bring, establish positive, great, strong relationships and collaborations. But where's the mistake? The biggest mistake is just, after you've been in it for a year and you're swapping podcast, are you still looking for that free promotion? Free promotion is good. If someone hands you a mic, take it. But what are you doing with it? And here's where there's been a big discussion, and I have had a discussion with several mentors, coaches, and other cohorts that are in this business as an event coordinator. And part of the problem is that, people don't value free, right? And not only is it that, but what are you getting out of the collaboration? Are you affiliating? Are you realizing that getting on that stage, that person's doing a lot of work? Are you promoting them? Maybe they're putting out graphics, they're putting out emails, they're putting out social media. That's time and money. Either that business owner as a solopreneur is doing that, or they're paying a virtual assistant to do that to bring the promotion. It's marketing. You used to have to pay thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we want to condense that. You don't have to put those large ads out. You don't have to do a large marketing scheme. What you do need to do is value that time. And maybe you're paying 25 bucks, maybe you're paying 100 or 1,000 to be a guest. But where is that going? And how are you pushing the needle? And I think it's really reciprocity, right? Are you valuing what you're giving someone? Hey, let's just swap. Let me swap free for free. But if you're bringing value and you expect your host to bring value for you as a guest, and you want to bring people value, there is some money that needs to exchange. And how can you support people? You want to make money, and you have to pay a little bit to get a little bit, right, Colleen?
Absolutely. And so when we're talking about bringing value, of course, there's always your audience that you bring that is very valuable. But there are other things that you can do for your co-host or your podcast guest that bring value. One of the things that we practice on Monday Morning Business Foreplay is we always give back short clips of our guest when they're really being highlighted as the expert in their field. We give them those short clips back as a thank you, just a little something extra that they can share around with their audience. Of course, they get the link to the replay. They can share that. We invite them to collab on YouTube as well. But really just bringing things to them. We also, in preparation, create swipe files because I don't want it to be a burden for you to come on my show. I want for you to come prepared to represent my business as well as yours in a really good and professional way. And so we provide short swipe files that are either email invites, or maybe it's captions, things like that, descriptions for YouTube, things like that. And with the understanding that our guest is going to edit those to fit their audience as well and to fit their brand. But it puts us in alignment when we present ourselves together on a podcast. And so I really try to bring that kind of value as well, Nicole. Do you have any other ideas of ways that we can really bring value that's shareable?
I think that's perfect. In just in the podcasting, if we're just talking about stages, because this does get into summits, workshops, and other events, is we don't need to overdo it. If you overwhelm people with everything, then where are they going to put it? However, if you give them a small, great, and wonderful media package, it should be easy enough to share. At least resharing it on, are you resharing a LinkedIn post? Are you resharing a Facebook post and commenting? Are you inviting people to that event so they see it? So you're pushing that algorithm, and it's going to push the SEO. This way, the SEO, the AEO, the chat, the Claudes, everything can find you. So you're making a bigger push. You're moving the algorithm, and the great thing is we have this ability on just a small scale to move the algorithm to generate momentum, to get seen and heard, and to leverage it in just 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And we think that, we have been, there was so much with just media and TV that you had somebody else do it. So now in the data age, without getting overwhelmed, you are absolutely marketing yourself without running an ad by just appearing on one podcast. And if you look at this strategically, how are you getting out there? What are you doing? So if you're just getting on podcast to get on podcast to get on stages and just making this exchange, and you're not taking the time to push it out even further and talk about it and let it come out of your lips, put it in the comments, comment on other people's, tag them, say hello, push it out. We have control at such a small scale, and it's so wonderful to look at that and say, hey, because for me, it's so amazing how we do this. And so flipping the script on what we have control of without having to go to CBS, ABC, turn on the TV, go fly out to LA, and shoot a commercial. So when you take it back, you have such control just on that small scale. And that's what we do just with our podcast going live with us right now is sharing it on LinkedIn, sharing it on Facebook, sharing this on YouTube, on Rumble. And that pushes that algorithm. We share it together. And how many that 6 degrees of separation. What are you looking at? What's your next 5 moves and how are you leveraging it? So this is what you can do on a small scale. Just imagine if you're doing it consistently and strategically, and you're continuously engaging your fans, your followers, and all those wonderful people. But then looking at the next thing is, and then we have a video we're going to I'm going to play in a little bit, and it's from one of Alex Hormozi's marketers. And we're going to get into that with list and list swaps. But the next thing on our list is Summit Speaker Cross Promotion. So sharing with somebody that if I run a stage and I bring a speaker up, I want to, and this is what you were talking about before, Colleen, is that you're giving them your guest a media kit. And that is cross promotion, right? So you're cross promoting, you're coming in, the guest is coming in with a call to action, and the host is promoting that. And then you're promoting the guest. So that's cross promotion, and that's everything that we just talked about. But now you're doing this on a summit, and it's valuable. Why? Because you're gaining leads, and then you can share leads. And I love sharing leads because I think it's so important. This is a gift that we have with social media. And how are we getting out there? So we're taking control again of everything that we're looking at and what we talk to. And this gets to the heart of what you do, Colleen, with emails.
And let's back up a little bit and say that to get on podcast, when I first started getting on podcast and trying to podcast swap and things like that, I thought that I should get on all the podcasts. And what that does is it's confusing. It's like watching TV and you're watching a home gardening show and all the commercials are either medical or they're about getting car repairs. They don't correlate. And so you want to make sure that the podcast you're getting on are in alignment with your audience. And so really be particular in these. It is better to be on fewer podcasts that are in alignment than to be on many that are going to confuse your guests because they're not the right ones. And so it's okay, and it's actually imperative in business that you learn to say no to the things that are not in alignment with you. That also goes right along with what Nicole's saying with the summits, to make sure those are also in alignment. It's a horrible position to be in when you're in the middle of a summit and you realize that you're not aligned with the rest of the speakers. And so you really want to make sure that you are bringing the same audience, that they have the same interests, they have the same challenges. And so you're providing a solution for an audience that is aligned with everybody else that's participating in the event. And so, yeah, what Nicole was saying is that afterwards, after you do these things, whether you're taking your leads from a LinkedIn post, social media post of some sort that you've shared, you've gotten people to sign up to attend or show interest in your podcast or your summit event, and you get these leads, the important thing is to remember that these people have asked to be included in your world. They're the ones who've raised their hand and said, please let me in. And so if you choose to not interact with them, to not take that first step, to not be a good hostess is what it is. pretend it's a party and you're the hostess, right? You have to be the first one to invite them in. You have to invite them in. You have to make sure the music's just right, the light's just right, that they've got the right food and the snacks that they need for that atmosphere that you've created. They have already expressed that they want to be there. You need to bring them in. And we do that online by bringing them into our email list, by continuing the conversation that you are having, either on your podcast, on your summit, or just answering questions that people may have about what you presented. And so that gives you a lot of content to build into your email list and to just take and create little nurturing emails about all of that content and continually send them. Right, Nicole?
Yeah, I think so. You know what I just want to say, just to pivot a little bit. We do have Jeff in the comments here on YouTube, and he was saying this is exactly the point of what we're talking about with marketing, and I love how he puts this. He's saying he just had a podcast win $1 million contract from a podcast that the guest did with him 8 months ago, and that's about a 15-minute promotion. So what are you getting? You're getting out there, and that absolutely goes along with what you're talking about when you strategically place yourself on certain stages. That's not to say that you can't support people with a different story, or maybe you're on more of a heartfelt podcast with someone and you're telling a personal healing story. That is good promotion in and of itself. There's a time and place. But what we're talking about right now is entrepreneurship and marketing. You're always marketing yourself. So on those heartfelt podcasts, you don't you're bringing in some marketing and you're doing good for the community, and it is going to do it's great community building, relationship building. So that's one thing, a smaller version of that in and of itself. But when you're doing this strategically in your marketing, and you're not just the same key phrases, the same turnkey, the same MLM cultish type of conversation that everybody else is doing. How are you standing out? And that's what we're looking at. How are you standing out? How are you standing up and shining? How are you leveraging that marketing? And that's where, when you come on the stage, you want to have that conversation. And that's what this is why I love bringing the speaker panels to the events that I host. And I always encourage my clients and share with the audience members and other people in workshops and everything. Why is this important to bring a speaker panel? So, at the one that's coming up, the plot twist, a gathering for authors, it gives authors a chance to talk about their book or their journey or the experience of not just, oh my God, writing is ridiculous. Look at Secret Window with Johnny Depp, right? He was an author that went way crazy because he got so stuck in his journey. But we're not going that far. We want to ease your life up for you and say, hey, in that journey, how do you share the story of what it took to not only write a book, but the story that you wrote put in your book. So that great story of a time in your life, a momentous journey in your life. I should write one about the casinos when I was doing security, all the crazy club stuff that went on. I could do a tell all. But you can talk about that moment that story really clicked and it was a fan favorite, so you put it in your book. So there's all kinds of things that you could share, and that's where a speaker panel opens up the magic. Because if you're like me and you do a presentation, it helps me focus. And so I do a bit of a presentation and I interact with the audience, but I'm a video person, so I have graphics and sparkles and all kinds of stuff. So that's in a sense promoting my business. But the key into that is that interview style gives the panel a group experience. It gets the chance for the audience to turn on their camera, do a little Q&A, work the room a little bit, get people a little chunk that's a little bit of a sidebar from your story and a little bit deeper into who you are, and just for this one, as an author. And any other thing like Authority Code that's coming up also is about soul-led leadership. How do you influence your audience? So, asking the speakers questions on how they lead from within, so you go within without going without, right? And it's just different things, but looking at the structure, it's strategically placed The questions are just questions to allow the speakers to shine. I just ask a simple question. The speaker can go anywhere they want with it. It's not gotcha questions, but the speaker has something that they talk about. They have a topic, they have an avatar they talk to, who are their clientels. And a lot of times, what's great about podcast and interview styles and whatnot on the stages is that your connection, you're building relationship, and the speakers connect to one another. So just like a guest and a host, you're doing it in a group dynamic to push the needle of building a relationship. And in that, all in the background, your workflow's going, you're generating leads. Well, it's a win-win.
Well, and you know what I feel like, honestly, the part you forgot about, the or you left out, you probably don't see because you're on the working end of it. But the part about the speaker panel is that it's like the pre-party, right? It's your invite to come in and in a more relaxed atmosphere, get to know all of the players and really kind of get a little insight. And what I use that for, I like to go attend the speaker panels of different summits, and then I can see if maybe perhaps I can't attend all the days of the summit. Do I want to do the VIP? Do I want to purchase the VIP upgrade? So I get the recordings. But if I go in there, it's like the taster of what the summit's going to be. It's the pre-party. This is what you can expect inside on a more humane level. We're not doing professional presentations in there. It's just people sitting down and chit-chatting and enjoying their time together while sharing the bounty of what they're going to present in the summit. And so I like to go to those speaker panels and just kind of, I feel like it's just more of a fireside chat. It's like, hey, come on in, join the party, see what we're all about. This is what you can expect in the summit. And then if for some reason you can't attend all the days, it really gives you a taste of, yeah, this is the right place for me. So I want to go ahead and upgrade to VIP so that I can have all the recordings because I don't want to miss the fun.
Yeah, that is absolutely part of that strategy, right? The connections. So when you're bringing people in the group dynamic, they are connecting together. That is exactly what I'm talking about by building relationships. That is what you're doing. And for the audience that can come in and build a relationship and have a connection to you. And there's everything that flies around. Oh, we're in a trust recession. Yes, we are. But here's where we bring back that energy to the room and the connection. And it's a great way to get to know the speakers. And that is an offshoot of what that speaker panel, that fireside chat, comes to, right? So whether you call it a gathering, a fireside chat, you're bringing people in the room. That's the strategy. That's exactly what that is all about. Is it's building relationships, and it gives you a little look-see. So if you look at it in a very simple way, when you go to Costco and that grandma's over there and she's fixing the little cheese bites, or she's putting out the little hot dogs out there and she's selling those little corn dogs. So you go right down that aisle and get 12 of those big boxes because you brought all the kids and the family with you. Now you got to have like enough for 2 days. So people can binge those corn dogs because they're just super delicious. And then, of course, you're going to go and get some water and taste some other stuff. It's a little bit of an appetizer. It's a little bit of an enticement. Come back, give it a little try. Give it a little try. And that's what we want to bring back. You know, when you're on a stage and when you're doing a call to action, people want to know, what do they get from you in that package? So when speakers come onto the stage, whether you're in a podcast or you're hosting, you're guesting, this is everything into all the events. You're giving people a little bit more of a taste of the bonus of the juiciness of what you're going to bring as when you sell your product. So if you're selling your products, your goods, your services, they want to know a little bit about you, a little bit more. And that's what this is all about. It's marketing. It's just relationship building marketing tool. And and the great thing is when you package this up, it ends up being your social media. It ends up being clips. Hey, thanks, Jeff. Have a great day. Love to see Jeff in there. He's in Manila, probably a different time of day for him. So awesome. And this is what happens. We build relationships. You do podcast swaps. You talk to other people, and Jeff's on the school platform too. And you're building these relationships and you're engaging and connecting. This is where you start with social media. When you're commenting to people, when you're in their DMs, when you're talking to them, and you're not just fly by night and just maybe looking and not even bothering to click the thumbs up. Say hi, give some good quality. If you want it, you've got to give it. And this is where you're bringing the extra value. It is a marketing machine. It is a tool to leverage your visibility and where you're going and the audience. And this is where you're swapping lists. So this gets into swapping lists. So when you come on to Monday Morning Business Foreplay on Colleen's podcast, or you're coming on to the Pain Point podcast as a guest. That's my podcast on Wednesdays. You come into the school platform, you are bringing other people with you. So you're advertising. That's great advertisement. So if we collaborate in an event, a workshop, or podcasting, we're collaborating. That's where you advertise to your people, and then you can mix and you can share. If you want people to collaborate with you and you actually want them to do a little bit more for you, without asking for the world for free, you're going to bring a guest. You're going to bring a buddy with you. You're going to share and talk to somebody. Hey, I'm on the Pain Point podcast on Wednesday as a guest, and tomorrow we have Kimberly Crow from Speakers Playhouse, which is going to be a great conversation because she has so much fun with what she does. And I share it with her group. I share the podcast with my group. Kimberly shares it with her group. And then that is a list swap in a sense. You're not just handing over your list, but you're sharing a little bit of what's coming up in your world.
Yeah, I love that. And I was actually thinking to Kimberly earlier when I was thinking that, your pre-party, your speaker panel is like a party. And one of the things Kimberly always says is, if it's not fun, she doesn't want to do it. And so I feel like there's so much fun in doing these events. I know so many people are nervous with it, but I think once you get past that and you just dive in, it's no different than going to any other party. You just get in there and have a good time and really deliver the value. Nicole, are we going to watch a video? I think you're the
Yes. In just 1 second, I'll have that ready.
I just got that. So I don't know if everybody knows or not, and this is not necessarily promotion, but I will just say that Alex Hormozy on the school group right now has a deal where if you start a school group, he sends you all 3 of his books for free. I think it was $20 shipping and handling, and then you get 30 days in your own school group. It's like a challenge to get your group going. And I just got my books delivered yesterday, although I already have my school group established. But I'm so excited to dive into them. One of the things that really stood out to me when I was just kind of flipping through them last night is that the clips that we share, the things that are that he shares in his social media platform, in his emails, everything is exactly the same thing over and over and over. It's that simple consistency over and over and over. The videos we share are actually pages out of the books that he takes and makes video clips with. It's crazy to me that it's actually that kind of simple consistency that really can truly build a successful business.
Well, that's it. And consistency, and you talk about that. So you talk about simplifying your life and keeping it consistent and sharing that message. Because in 30 days, people aren't going to remember. They want to see the consistency, and there's those lurkers. But you have a workshop. I'll bring up the video. Talk about your workshop that's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah. And so it's such an interesting time for my workshop to be coming to light. And so I've been working on this. It's actually a masterclass that teaches you really how to go through a 3-step process. Let me preface this by saying I didn't go study and learn this. I didn't go take a course to learn this. This is, unfortunately, my reality forced me to have to learn this. My first 6 businesses, I completely burned out. I was working 80 hours a week, doing everything myself. Were they successful? Absolutely. Of course, they have to be when you're putting that much into it. They were absolutely successful. What wasn't successful was my life. I was totally missing out on things that I should have been there for. And when I say that, I'm not saying I missed out on birthday events and I missed out on Christmas. No, I was there for the big things. But looking back as a grandma now of 12, almost 14, The moments that were important to my loved ones were not necessarily great big aha moments like birthday parties and Christmas and things like that. It was simply when they got pushed down on the way home from school, got skinned their knee. They needed somebody there for them. When they wanted to call because they wanted to have a chat and I was unavailable because I was tied up in my business. These were monumental in their eyes, not in mine, and I missed them. And so my life at that point, my first 6 businesses, was a complete failure looking back. Okay. And so I had to create a better way if I was going to create another business. So I learned to simplify, to automate, and to delegate. I did those beautifully in business number 7 and 8. Absolutely loved those businesses, and they ran smooth as a baby's butt. And so now I'm taking the things that I had to implement, and I'm bringing those out in my masterclass, and I'm teaching people to simplify inside their business. And it's not just a simple, oh, simplify. It's not that. We're going to go through steps that teach you what to simplify, how to simplify, and why we're simplifying those things and what the benefit of that is. Then we're going to talk about automation, how you should automate, what should be automated, and when should you start automating. We're going to talk about delegation and taking delegation to a new level. It's not necessarily just hiring things out. It can be something as simple as a collaboration or trading things. And comes my favorite farmer blowing kisses at me. So my master class is to walk you through those steps. Make sure you get registered early so that you can get your PDF downloaded, printed, have it in hand, so we can really work through these things. My goal for you is to walk away with a clear path of things that you can change right away to lift that burden of overwhelm and burnout in your business and really truly be able to step up as the CEO in your business. So my master class is going to be Wednesday, that's tomorrow, at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm sure Nicole has dropped that link somewhere. If she hasn't, then I will.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to I think you want, yeah, go ahead and drop that and I will make sure that I throw that on all the platforms for you. So I've keyed up this video and it's the gentleman that does the marketing for Hermosi, and it's like he's going to talk about the email. So when you do a workshop like Colleen's doing tomorrow, you want to make sure that you're going to collect leads. You're going to generate leads from your workshop or your summit event. And when you do that, wherever you get your leads from, and you've got to purchase those leads in one form, fashion, or another. So, are you paying because you're doing the workshop? Are you on someone's summit? Are you on a podcast? And this is where you look at where the payment makes sense, because is it converting and how much is your lead cost, and you're generating the leads. And then because it took time, because it took money, you want to go ahead and email those leads. And this is where we're going to talk about it right now, what that means when you get that email list together. So let me bring that up here and get this off and go ahead and share.
And was that the first time that Alex had really activated email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, prior to that, we'd probably only sent like 2 emails where maybe Alex had created a really good YouTube video that we just wanted to share with the list. And then outside of that, it just kind of sat there.
Okay. So I guess first off, what was the reason for activating it for the book launch, and what were the results like?
Yeah, so one of my backgrounds is in email marketing. Yeah. It's kind of a core competency of mine. I would say when it comes to a launch, I love building launches around email, like essentially building a hot list and then launching to the hot list. Mm-hmm. And so email is one of the easiest ways to do that from a marketing standpoint, where you can build an engaged list of people to launch something. And so that's kind of where that kind of came from. We could run lots of traffic into a simple opt-in, collect name, email, phone number, and then anyone who gave us permission to contact them, we could then essentially get them excited for the live event. Mm-hmm. And it was really easy once you have someone's email to communicate with them on email. We had their phone number, so we did some SMS and voicemail drops. And then you can also put that list into Facebook as a custom audience. Yep. And you can start hitting people on multiple channels. Mm-hmm. And you can be very intentional with the message that shows up on people's feed.
Okay. can we talk at a super high level about?
Okay, so that's it, guys. It's as simple as that. You have a hot list that you generated, and that hot list is you really, and he talks about doing the email marketing at and getting on the stages right at the launch for promotion, but you should consistently be promoting yourself. So, how many podcasts for the month are you on? How many summits are you on? And they're important. Your best clients, you guys, something that nobody ever talks about. Your best clients are the other speakers on a well-aligned stage or a well-aligned podcast. Those are your best clients. If you're a podcast host and you're charging an admin fee because you're doing all the work for your graphics and it should be reciprocated in some form or fashion, you're collecting that. That is marketing, right? And as a guest, you're coming in, same thing with the stage. You are marketing yourself before, during, and after. So that through that month, what does your stages look like? And you're building collaborations. If you want people to collaborate with you, they've got to know you. They've got to experience you. And what a great way to do that. They get into your essence, your juiciness of who you are, what value you bring, what fun you're having, and they get to know a little bit more about you. So that is the cycle of where that goes, and you're always
And it should
consistently
be reciprocated.
emailing and marketing. And if you get used to that there's a soft structure, a great foundation that you're building, you always do well, and you know that that workflow is ready to go. And that's what gets into when you're working with someone on that back end, like Colleen, where she's setting it up. So I set up the stages, I get that all ready, I build that out, make sure people come onto the stage and shine, and then you have your email, and that's it. That's the package you need to have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do love how he said, and this is just something new to me, so maybe that's why I love it so much. But I do love how he said you can drop a voicemail. I love that because it can be a voice message that goes through a DM or even that you text. But I think that that is puts you further ahead because people identify your voice. And so that helps in building those relationships really actually quite a bit. And those can be created and dropped in emails as well. And so really letting people hear your voice, 2026, Nicole and I have set a goal for VoiceLab for our school community group to help as many entrepreneurs as we can to really get seen and heard in 2026. And so that does require using your voice. And so sometimes, yes, in emails. Other times it's just attending the pre-party as a speaker on a speaker panel and understanding what the audience coming in is looking for. Maybe they ask questions, maybe other speakers present a different aspect that maybe you hadn't looked at, but that gives you time to tweak your presentation a little bit so that you're directly speaking to the pain points of that exact audience. So really learning to use your voice to get seen and heard in 2026 is going to be huge in moving the needle in your business. You can do that by sharing podcasts. You can do that by multiple ways of collaborations. And I know when I first started online, I thought that those things would be super expensive. But when you're in alignment and when you start building your list, when you find other people that are at the same level of you as building their list, and you collaborate with them, you trade things, you make it work that way, then always remember to bring value so that you're a welcome guest, right? You want to always bring the value. That includes, like Nicole was saying, sharing, commenting, engaging in the other person's post as well as your own, but sharing with your audience and not just inviting people to the podcast, but following up with them and saying, hey, we're going live in an hour. Just a quick reminder. And then afterwards, hey, do you have any questions about what we talked about? Some of the people in the comments had this question, and this was our answer. Not sure if you caught that or not, but wanted to share that with you. So really just working on using your voice to build relationships is going to be the thing that's key and essential in 2026.
100%. You want to make sure that you do and let people know. And sometimes it seems frustrating. Like, I told everybody, they said they accepted. Well, if you do something and you're using an AI tool on LinkedIn and you use something like the Mighty Network or something, it's just automatic. So we have to add the human component, and people get busy. So you want to remind them kindly in the DMs, at least an hour before the event that, hey, the event is live. You get more people to attend because you actually reached out to them, you took the time, and you also reminded them. Give people a reminder. That's why you set up your emails. Don't assume that, hey, I told you 30 days ago that you were going to come to the event. You said you were going to come to the event. You need to let those people know. And you need to say, hey, instead of assuming that collaborator is going to be able to show up for your event, just remind them, hey, are you going to be there for me? Or, hey, I have an event that I set up. Let me know, does this fit with your schedule? So you do have to talk about that and express that. Don't assume because, it's here in your head or you collaborate all the time on things, you want to make sure that you reach out. Hey, do you need help? Or, hey, how can I support you the best? Or, hey, don't forget to be there. You just have to give people a reminder, just a reminder. And that's the blessing of what we do and how we do it. And I think that this is, what are we talking about? And the whole thing is relationship building. And just remind people, hey, don't assume, right? Don't assume. So really, the other thing is so we talked about strategic collaborations, and that strategy is absolutely showing up, exchanging, pushing the needle, putting it out. How can I support you? And how can I show up for you? So that's how you leverage that. You can also add to leveraging that without ads into affiliation. And what's great about affiliation is I use something like Thrivecart. You could do that on Go High Level. There's all kinds of places you could do it that are very simple. And what's great about affiliation is maybe somebody in your group, maybe somebody in your networking group or in your BNI or your live networking want to support you, but they cannot attend the event. Or maybe the event is not for them. They know people. So they can offer. So I share with people, hey, maybe you can't speak on my stage, but speakers. If you want to share them, I'm going to give you a little cash back here. You're going to make maybe $20, maybe $40. However, what's the average? Anywhere between 20 and 40% of this ticket sale for an event for a VIP or for a speaker, and say, hey, you can't be there, but could you share this speaking opportunity with your audience because they want to get on a stage and I have stages. So now you're giving somebody some money for that. Thank you so much. Some people don't use it. That's okay. Some people do use it. Absolutely. Pay them out, pay them instantly and let it go. Let the machine take control. And then that way you're also leveraging your marketing. So that is just another way that we can kind of borrow the audience to accelerate growth.
Yeah, and I think too that when we're talking about collaborations, I just want to add that find somebody that has the same audience. You want the shared audience, but they do something a little bit different. Like Nicole does the summits and I do the back end office, right? So find somebody that's like that. That's like the foundation for a great collaboration where you share an audience but have a different service. And so really it takes a minute to look around, find that. But once you do, you can build a beautiful relationship there that helps you to continually grow your business by collaborating over and over again. And I think Nicole, that just stacking that collaboration, making sure that you revisit it, that it's not just a one and done, but go back and do it again. And we do that a lot with podcasts because it's a swap usually, like I'll be on your podcast, you be on mine. But then let's think about those people when another event or another season like that comes around. Maybe it was International Women's Week that you spoke. And so when something else comes around with that same kind of theme, build something together again with that same theme in mind, right? And I think that it's so essential to make sure that we include the information. Hey, if you can't make it or this isn't for you, please share this with someone you know it will help. Because people don't think that automatically. Like they get an invite to something, they're like, oh, calendar, yeah, nope, can't make it. Or, yeah, that's not my topic. But if you actually articulate that want in there for them to do that, then they think instead of ending the thought process at I can't make it or this doesn't apply to me, then that having it written there articulates the thought process and instigates that movement in their brain to go, oh, who do I know that would be perfect for them? You know what? This is exactly who needs that. and then to share that. But we really need to encourage that by providing that articulated in writing to them to start the thought process so they will continue to think of us and share our message with other people.
Absolutely. You want to give to get, and then circle back to people, hey, did you talk to anybody? Make sure that you honor that and say, hey, if this works for you. It's a great way for people to support you if they can't show up, or maybe it's just not in their taste, but they do have that aligned audience. Maybe they can't come in, maybe they're busy, but they want to commit to you. They want to give back to you for the value that you've provided them. It's
Yeah.
also a great way for your speakers on your stage to collaborate as well. And if your speakers have a product or a service that they want to affiliate, it's great sponsorship. And I tell people all the time, if there's something, a product or a service that you have, then let's affiliate that. Because you're making money off the other speakers, or maybe the other speakers, you want to offer that to the other speakers on the panel, but definitely offer it to your host to say, hey, you've got an audience of 3,000 plus, or you got an audience of 500 or less, but they are buyers, they have money, they want to hear what you're supporting. You don't want to just throw stuff out there. There's a lot of people I see that have affiliated stuff and it wasn't aligned for the audience. And do check what you're affiliating. Do know what the product or service is, and say, hey, you don't have to have all the details and all the data. Don't you have to be crazy. It depends on the price point, but know their product, know that person's product, and how long has it been out there, and is it something good that they're going to back up. So do know that, hey, it's an honest product that I'm supporting. But also say, and feel free to say, hey, this is a service that I'm affiliated with, and it's just that I'm sharing with you, the audience, and support that person in that moment on that summit, that event, or that workshop, and say, hey, this is something that I'm bringing in and that I'm supporting at this time right now. And let your audience know what you're doing, that you are affiliating, because if they want to support you, which they've given their email and the blessing of the connection, so you let them know, and they know where they can buy it as well, because they want that, they might want that product or the service, and they want to get some of that too. So if it's a good thing and you trust somebody, the greatest value is to share, from your lips to their ears, that product or that service. And that's all about creation today. So we've talked about quite a few things, but giving the value of being on the stage. So the focus today is how to really get in front of thousands without ads, podcast swaps, being a good guest, summit speakers, cross promotion, list swaps, strategic collaborations, and affiliation. So is there anything else you want to share?
There is. Let me just touch on this. I don't know why we didn't say something about it sooner. Probably because it's Tuesday. But if you go into the VoiceLab and you are a paid member, and right now, and not for very long, but right now it's $11 a month or $99 a year, and you're a paid member, then that gives you the privilege of applying to host a masterclass, which puts you in front of somebody else. I will say that the last masterclass we had, I believe there were 27 people in attendance, and it was 2 hours long. And when Nicole and I had to cut it off at 2 hours because we had other commitments, the masterclass host carried it into a different Zoom room. And so this is I feel like this is a good show out. These are people that stayed, that were engaged, that were super interested. And so if you want the opportunity to share your expertise in the form of a masterclass, go ahead and join VoiceLab on School Group. And like I said, it's $11 a month or $99 for the year. And then you can find the link in there to apply to host a masterclass. And Nicole and I are certainly welcoming people in to do that. And we are, of course, we want you to be aligned with our audience. So we're going to review those things. But just another option and opportunity for you to get seen and heard in 2026. You're muted.
We want to bring value to you, to the audience, and we want to bring value to our group. And in order to bring that value, we're not only bringing stages to you, we're bringing notoriety, we're bringing visibility, we're helping market we're cross promoting. We can even affiliate. So we're doing all this leading by example. But the great thing about what Daniel Andrews brought it, and it was called Stop Networking, Start Building Relationships. And yes, that's how enamored the audience was. That's how important the subject was doing that building that trust, building the relationships. And if you have something like that, I mean, Colleen and I, of course, can come on all day, every day, but bringing the value of someone else that has a different expertise, that way, we're supporting that, and we want you to bring these juicy nuggets, these tips and tricks to the audience, and bring the value. It is right now a 7-day free trial. So you can come in there and hey, come in the group because we even affiliate the membership. So if you share that, you can come and share the membership with people and connection. And it's a safe place to connect and learn and be an entrepreneur and share everything about the business. And that's a great way to, hear first. You hear first about the stages. You hear first about the events. You hear first about the workshops. You hear first about the master classes. So it's all here in this group, and that's what we're working on, and just leading by example to build this community.
Yeah, and it's a fun community. And I will say, so I'm a little bit of a math person. So let's say that if you were just getting on a podcast, you have the podcast host audience that you're getting as well as your own. And when you come into this, then you have my audience, you have Nicole's audience, and you have your own. And so it's an even greater spread there of people that you can reach. And so, yeah, come on over to VoiceLab.
Yeah,
Nicole,
absolutely.
what are you talking about tomorrow? Tomorrow you have Pain Point with Kimberly. I know it's going to be fun because if it's not fun, Kimberly's not in. So what are you talking about that's going to be so fun?
Well, with Kimberly, the great thing is not only the conversation, but we absolutely talk about what we talk about is stages, grabbing the mic and being visible, and that's the strategy behind it, and exactly what we talked about today. And here's where I learned a lot of it from was being part of that group and to showing up, collaborating and sharing. And that is that whole basis. It's building relationships. You're collaborating and you're sharing, and not letting people drive by on your stage. So if you're hosting a stage, and that's something else that found, really started to realize in building relationships is those boundaries of what's expected from your speakers and what's expected when you're hosting a stage. Not only should you give value and bonuses, but you need to be the adult in the room. You need to be the leader. And that's the great thing about what I learned from that. But tomorrow we are absolutely going to talk about leveraging your marketing on the stage with Kimberly Crow, everything about what she does. And just, not only does she always say, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing, but she always talks about just grab the mic, get on the stage. And it's just as easy as that. You could travel anywhere. And of course, she's well traveled around the world. And as long as you have Wi-Fi, you have some internet and a phone, you can always talk, you can always connect. So that's exactly what we're looking at tomorrow is, you know what? Just grabbing the mic and rocking the stage.
Yeah, and so I'm dropping in the chat right now, Speakers Playhouse. So that is Kimberly Crow and Jeannie Trask group that offers many ways to get seen and heard as well. So you want to look at that as well. Everybody jump on that. And this, just add a little bit more value here. If you haven't heard of this, it's a really fun way to go. I enjoy going to their meetings. So, and this is for Kimberly. She brings so much fun everywhere she goes. So, anything else, Nicole? What are we talking about Thursday?
I will bring that up in a minute. Let me see. Thursday, it looks like we are going to talk about from one stage, 100 conversations, and how are you building those relationships, the follow-up, the strategy, and how are you continually, don't just show up and drive by, but come back for more. And we want people to know that and this way you build relationships because people can trust that you're going to show up and you're going to be there tomorrow.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So looking forward to that. This has been a great time. Thank you, Nicole.